It's a smaller town. There's about 90,000 people in Santa Barbara proper, plus the school is here. There's no traffic. We have awesome, outdoor spaces, parks, beaches, hikes, mountains. I sold one house kind of out of the market, blew through all my savings and my stocks that I had been, working on. And it was a really tough year.
You're the go-to person for Airbnb in your market, and you do a lot of stuff on YouTube. And what are some of the things that somebody who wants to buy a property in Santa Barbara for Airbnb should know about?
When you're young, when you don't have kids, when you can be a little more flexible, it's a great way to build wealth, to get into a property that will really start to generate equity and cash flow. So what they do right now is they live on the top and they Airbnb out the bottom area. They're making really good money, I think like $250 to $300 a night. Big reason that a lot of people buy in Santa Barbara is we appreciate a lot faster than other areas that have more expansion.
Are you thinking about moving to Santa Barbara, California? Today I have my buddy Avi on. Avi is an agent in Cali. Avi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, brother. I'm stoked to chat.
Awesome. Well, let's just jump right in. Could you tell everybody who doesn't know you already a little bit about your background and how you got started in real estate?
My name's Avi. I'm 27 years old and I live in beautiful Santa Barbara, California. I've been in the real estate world now for coming up on 5 years. And my story is kind of funny. A lot of people stumble into this industry. It wasn't like, my dream growing up to sell houses, but I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own business. I thought I was going to get into tech sales, and I applied to a lot of tech companies in Santa Barbara my senior year. I came out here for college. I'm originally from Boulder, Colorado, and came to UCSB. So I thought I was going to get into tech. I applied to sales roles. I thought I'd be good at sales, and I literally got rejected from every sales tech company that I applied to. I went into interview processes and it just didn't work out. But I was really lucky. I worked at a gym when I was in college, and I had a bunch of connections from the gym. And one of my clients who I really got along with well was a realtor. So my end of my senior year of college, I hit him up. I had done some experience doing digital marketing, social media and stuff like that. And I asked him, I said, hey, I would love to help you. I saw him posting on social media and I was like, I'd love to help you with your social channels. And I'm interested in real estate. I've always wanted to learn about at least investing in real estate. And he basically gave me that green light and kind of took me under his wing. I was doing his social media channels, and I did that basically the spring as I was graduating college. And I just honestly loved it. So that whole summer, I worked some odd jobs and was just working on getting my real estate license. And then I got licensed in the winter of 2019. Yeah, I was right as it became 2019. And basically, I don't know if your story is similar, but a lot of realtors have the similar story. My first year in the business was so tough. I sold one house kind of out of the market, blew through all my savings and my stocks that I had been, working on. And it was a really tough year. But the year after that, I got into Tom Ferry coaching. I met the right people and my business kind of exploded. And since then, I've been really just trying to help as many people as possible. I work with a lot of young first-time home buyers. I help a lot of people sell a house they've lived in a bunch of years. And our market's kind of niche and unique. And we have a bunch of, just like any market, different types of clientele that we help. But one thing I've really gotten into recently is Airbnb and Airbnb investing. And I just love helping people and sharing the knowledge and, just connecting with great people. And I'm glad we got to connect as well.
Yeah, thanks so much, Avi. I really wanted to connect with you because I've seen you in the ecosystem before with coaching, and our stories are very similar. We got licensed around the same time. Similar thing with our first year, I only did one lease my first year, but then also what's really funny is that we also share that Airbnb similarity. You're the go-to person for Airbnb in your market, and you do a lot of stuff on YouTube, and it's very similar. So I'm so happy to connect, and I just want to dive right in. So, talking about Santa Barbara, a lot of people are looking, they're going to be watching this video and kind of wondering how has the market changed, over the last couple of years? I know it's been, so exciting, since pandemic to now, but how have you, in your own words, just kind of seen the city change, especially in the real estate market?
Great question. I think that the main change, and I wonder if you've seen this, obviously a lot of people came to Florida from the pandemic, and Santa Barbara, a lot of people came here as well due to being able to work remote and take their high income tech jobs, mostly from LA and the Bay Area, as well as, other places around the country, New York, other metropolitan areas. And they came to Santa Barbara because, it's a smaller town. There's about 90,000 people in Santa Barbara proper, plus the school is here. There's no traffic. We have awesome, outdoor spaces, parks, beaches, hikes, mountains, and a lot of people that wanted to get out of the city when things were tight or have been thinking about making a move, they came here. So I helped a lot of people either relocate or buy second homes during, the the craziness of the pandemic where, on some of our listings were getting 30 offers, and it was, some would sell, for 50, 75% above the marketed sale price. And it was pretty crazy for sure. And I've seen the town change a lot. But one thing that's great is that there's height restrictions. It's really hard to build new construction. So the population has swelled just slightly, but we still don't have traffic. The people that have come here from San Francisco and LA, they usually wanted to change a pace from where they're at. So they kind of fit into our kind of more relaxed, mellow culture here, where people still work really hard. And obviously, it's an expensive place to live, but it's not quite as flashy or as uptight as other California cities that kind of are notorious for being like that. I've seen it definitely evolve, but we have a great restaurant scene. There's a bunch of cool new spots that have opened up just recently. And even though Santa Barbara has changed, I feel like it's kept its character, which it's really known for. And that's why a lot of people do want to continue to move here.
It's like that balance, like when you have that migration of, from those different markets in New York, you said, for the neighborhood to still like remain the same. And from your videos, and like I watch your local reels and everything, it really does feel like it's maintained its charm, which is really cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a tough balance because obviously, just probably if you've seen your market in the last 3 years or so, prices are up astronomically. And a lot of people have unfortunately been priced out or have had to just continue to rent or feel like they've missed the boat. So it's a tough balance where when there's a high demand and a lack of supply, it's just going to continue to make things pretty expensive. And now with rates being where they're at, there's a lot of challenges we face helping our clients in real estate, but that's kind of part of the fun, is helping people navigate and make it work.
Yeah, totally. And I know that you specialize in relocation and, working with some buyers a lot of the time. What should somebody who is thinking about moving to Santa Barbara and they want to buy, like, what are some of the things that they should know about the home buying process in particular?
For sure. I think the first thing that people might be a little shocked about, obviously most people I think understand if they're going to move here and live here, they know that the prices are obviously higher than the national average. The average Santa Barbara home is about 5 times the national average cost. Really nice markets obviously going to be more expensive than the national average when it comes to a home price. But one thing to know about our market is the inventory is really low. Just the number of new listings. I think I checked the hot sheet today. It was about, 7 or 8 new listings hit the market today. And just because we're right in between the beach and the mountains, there's not a lot of new construction. There's height restrictions. We don't have, 60, 70 story condo complex buildings like other areas do. There's just a lot less active supply. So people just need to understand that there's not a lot of new listings hitting the market every week when you compare it to other cities or scopes. Another thing to consider is to really know, the areas and the zoning. Airbnbs are not allowed everywhere in Santa Barbara. You have to be in specific zoning and have either commercial zone designation or be in the coastal zone. So that's definitely something important to consider. And then just also knowing that the cost of construction here is a lot higher than other areas. So people sometimes they see a plot of land, they see a total fixer, and maybe they're thinking that they're going to get the same, cost of construction as where they're from. And that's just not the case, that our cost of construction is much more expensive. So it's good to really know kind of what exactly your numbers and your financial picture is going to look like before you dive into making a big decision like buying a house in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, totally. And like the cost of construction, it fluctuates even down here, like week to week. And I remember when lumber was like so expensive, and now we've seen it come down. But you mentioned also about like the Airbnb and knowing the zoning, very similar down here in the city of Miami Beach, super restrictive on Airbnb. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what it looks like in your market? Like, what are some of the things that somebody who wants to buy a property in Santa Barbara for Airbnb should know about?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that right now where Santa Barbara lies, there's a lot of gray area, honestly. What happened was originally the city banned all Airbnbs in the mid, I think it was 2015 or 2016. And then there was a lawsuit brought upon the city, basically, suing them for banning all the Airbnbs, led by one of the local property management Airbnb management companies in town. And so that basically reversed the ban on all Airbnbs and allowed them to be in the small designated areas where it's either coastal zone, where there's a coastal zone map showing, it's close to the beach, basically, or if you're in commercial mixed use designation areas where basically there could be like a hotel or a boutique inn would be allowed there as well, because it's definitely a really difficult subject where the pros of Airbnbs, it brings in a lot of tourism dollars, lets people come and stay here with their whole family. It increases property values significantly in the areas that it's allowed to be done. And it allows people to potentially have a second home, or that normally wouldn't potentially be able to, afford the payment of the mortgage, because the mortgage is oftentimes getting paid for by the tenants renting on Airbnb. When it comes to the cons, obviously sometimes people are looking to rent Airbnbs to party and turn residential neighborhoods into like a party area. Sometimes, people want to actually know their neighbors or, have a more tight-knit feel sometimes, and that obviously is not quite the same with Airbnb. And then obviously it also, sometimes people feel like Airbnb or zoning areas for Airbnb will price out, the standard first-time buyer who has a family and wants to be able to own in that neighborhood. So it's a lot, it's a difficult, complex situation. Personally, I'm really grateful that I own an Airbnb and I get to use it for friends and family. I'm really strict about no parties. I haven't had issues with my neighbors. And if you manage it right, I think you'd be a really good fit. But I understand, I'm not, some people are very like, why would anyone oppose Airbnb? It's such a great, as a host, it's such a great platform. But I understand that there's definitely some reasons to not like Airbnbs, and it's definitely a very jaded subject. I bet it's the same in your market, right?
Yeah. No, when you said that about the lawsuit in 26, like it was literally the exact same thing. Like Airbnb sued the city of Miami. So definitely have those similarities. With that said, like, do you have some first-time home buyers who are maybe hitting you up, like looking for property so that they can, I don't know, like have the best of both worlds? Like, can you talk to us about maybe somebody who you've worked with and, they bought the property and then they also are like making money with it? Like, talk to us a little bit more about what you're saying about the mortgage.
I have the perfect story. Yeah, exactly. Explaining what, you're talking about. I had this really cool listing. It was a unique property. It was really well furnished, but it kind of had a little bit of a weird floor plan where there was 2 bedrooms, 1 bath upstairs with a nice kitchen, and then 2 bedrooms. It was kind of like 2 blocks. Like it wasn't a duplex, but it almost lived like a duplex. And I met this awesome young actually she had owned a home in San Francisco and sold it, but she was very young. She was like in her early 30s, late 20s, I think. And no kids, just had a boyfriend or a fiance, and they bought the house. And with my help, I explained how you could set that bottom area up as an Airbnb. So what they do right now is they live on the top and they Airbnb out the bottom area. They're making really good money. I think like $250 to $300 a night, really paying a huge chunk of their mortgage. They set up a little kitchenette down there. And so that's kind of the exact story where probably she's very successful, but I don't know if she was to just own that property straight up. I think we sold it for $1.65 million. It would have been a very much more expensive payment, but now she's really be able to offset a big chunk of, her expenses with doing Airbnb. So that's an example. I've helped a lot of people in that kind of situation. When you're young, when you don't have kids, when you can be a little more flexible, it's a great way to build wealth, to get into a property that will really start to generate equity and cash flow, if you're willing to be a little creative and flexible. So I've helped a lot of people like that. Exactly right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome story. Yeah. I mean, because you're going to have to do that, like to get into that price point, like you're going to have to offset that mortgage, like somehow, just to make it more digestible. So that's awesome.
For sure.
So when someone's relocating, I know that you mentioned you help people from like New York, even maybe some people from Florida, like looking to move over. What advice would you give to buyers who are considering relocating from another state?
One thing that I really try to tell people is, Santa Barbara has a lot of nuances, a lot of cool neighborhoods, a lot of pockets and hidden gems. And if you're coming here, maybe just for like a week or 5 days, and you're really set on getting a house, it kind of feel rushed and kind of feel like, it's a huge decision when it comes to our price point. So I tell people, maybe if you can get an Airbnb for a month or come stay for an extended stay, really feel up the neighborhoods, go on neighborhood walks, try out a bunch of restaurants. Like I have a huge list of all my favorite restaurants, beaches, my favorite things to do. And I always send that to the people that are asking me about, the nuances and the best things to do in Santa Barbara. So I think, it's really important to get a really good feel of the area, the community, and have a better understanding, rather than some people, they come here for like a honeymoon or for like a wedding or for something fun, and they just get so wrapped up in the beauty and the romance of Santa Barbara that they come back and they're like, we want to buy a house right away. But I try to tell people to really take their time, understand what communities you like really learn the ins and outs, the pros and cons. I have a lot of YouTube content, like pros and cons of all the different communities. So I tell people, hey, if you can't be here, let's at least do a lot of research before you get here. Because when it comes to making a big decision, I just don't want anyone to have any regret. So the more research, the more time and effort and energy you can put into the prep, I think the happier people will be with their decision. Even though in my opinion, there's like no bad place to live in Santa Barbara. I just want to make sure that people are really informed. So that's what I try to do with my clients.
What would you say, speaking your relocation clients, like what would you say is one of the biggest surprises that they have, like good or bad, when they meet you, they're coming down for their relocation trip and they go on tour with you?
So it's funny. I'd say there's two things. There's like the people that come from either like New York, LA, or San Francisco that are like surprised at how affordable our properties are, like because their market's so expensive. Or there's the people that are relocating from like Minnesota, Texas, Colorado, and they're like, oh wow, this, it's price per square foot and what you get is not as much as I thought. So there's a little bit of price shock, sometimes up, sometimes down. And then I think the second thing is that people may be just surprised on how mellow, low key, and friendly everyone is, because I think we're close to LA. So we, some people are like, oh, is it kind of the Hollywood, like LA vibe? Or is it kind of the San Francisco tech, granola vibe? And we kind of have our very own unique personality here. So I think people are oftentimes surprised with how, nice, friendly, outgoing, community oriented we are compared to maybe some of the bigger California area cities that have a more, of a unique reputation, I guess. Say.
I feel like everybody, like when they think of tech, they think of SF and they're like tech, and then like LA, Hollywood, so yeah, they have those like own characteristics, which is kind of interesting. But it sounds like Santa Barbara like still has a lot of other things just besides like the laid back and the beach. Like there's still other little pockets in there. Could you tell us maybe about like some of your favorite spots in Santa Barbara?
Yeah, for sure. I'll talk. Last night, it was Sunday night, and a lot of times on a Sunday night to wrap up the week, me and my friends will do a little bonfire on the beach. And in LA and other areas, they're like very, strict about beach bonfires, but there's a couple beaches here that kind of allow it. Obviously, everyone like takes really good care. We make sure to really bury all of the, charcoal and make sure that we're just burning logs. We're not like bringing like a huge setup, and make sure that we don't leave any trash. Our beaches are really pristine here. So I have a video on my YouTube of my top 7 beaches. I love to surf, so I'm a huge beach guy. I went to like 2 beaches yesterday. I went to a beach during the day to like hang out and eat fruit and read, and then I went to a different beach to go bonfire at night. So beaches are a huge thing in our lifestyle here that everyone loves to enjoy. When it comes to restaurants, we have a bunch of really cool new spots that have opened up. There's a spot called Rare Society. That's an amazing steakhouse that I've been taking clients to recently. Tonight, actually, I'm going with some friends to this really cool Italian place that has 3 locations. They have a spot in Napoli that's been open since like the early 1800s, a spot in New York, and a spot here called like La Antica. And that's going to be a really fun dinner tonight. We have amazing resorts as well that you can use just as like a local, like the Belmont El Encanto, the Rosewood, which is developed by Caruso, who did the Grove, the big, name of developer in LA. And the cool thing is, these are places that are thousands of dollars a night, but as a local, you can go and just have a drink at the bar, have a meal at the restaurant, hang out and use the facilities without having to, pay the big 5-star resort fees. So those are a couple of my favorite spots in town. And I have a lot more if people want to reach out, forget my list of favorite things to do.
And so many similarities between Miami and Santa Barbara, like the whole going to the hotel, sitting at the bar, maybe sneaking into the pool at the Standard, like if they catch you or not. That's very cool. Awesome. Yeah. Well, finally, what's one thing that you wish more people knew about living and investing in Santa Barbara?
I would say that one thing to definitely note and to keep in mind is that there's other areas in the country where you're going to have a better cap rate or a better cash flow or a better just cash on cash return when it looks at purely the investment. But a big reason that a lot of people buy in Santa Barbara is we appreciate a lot faster than other areas that have more expansion. So I work with a lot of investors or people that are actually, they're buying a second home, but they really want to look at their numbers and want to make sure it's going to make sense. And they look at other markets and they're like sometimes thinking, okay, well, I'm potentially going to get more cash flow if I go to this other market. And I'd say that's just something to consider here is that you're going to make a lot more money on your appreciation potentially than just on your cash on cash return when it comes to an Airbnb or an investment. But, I think everyone has their own taste, their own desires. And if you really want to live here, but you also want to make it a good investment, that's something that me and my team really love to help people with, is that there's a good way to do both. But, for some people, they just want to enjoy the lifestyle here and they don't care what they pay. So it's to each their own. But I would say maybe that's something to understand is that, we're not as high of a cash flow cap rate market as other areas.
Totally. Great call out too, because like if you're looking for cash flow and you're looking for that rental property and just to put a tenant in there, like maybe Miami or Santa Barbara like isn't the best market, and maybe we should be looking in like Cincinnati, Ohio. And like we both have agent friends through the Tom Ferry network who we can introduce you to, which is awesome. But what a great call out, because investors buy boxes are different, and it's very similar in Miami. Like Miami right now with interest rates and everything, like it's probably not gonna break even if you're putting a tenant in there, paying the realtor and everything like that. So yeah, if you can keep an open mind, I think between, your market and Miami, we can make something happen creatively.
For
Avi, what
sure.
are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super grateful for you having me on. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of similarities between both our individual styles as realtors as well as our markets. And I think, I think it's a great place to live, whether it's Santa Barbara, Miami. We're like opposite sides of the country, but it's cool to see that there's a lot of nuance and similarity. And yeah, it's awesome to watch you to continue to grow your business. I'm glad, we were talking about the non-owner occupied side of the business that we're getting into. And yeah, I just really appreciate you having me on. I think this is a great way to stay connected, connect other agents, and it's going to be fun to watch your socials and your channel continue to flourish.
Yeah, likewise, Avi. Thank you so much. And for those who don't know, Avi and I got connected through the Tom Ferry ecosystem. Avi absolutely crushing it with off markets, non-owner occupieds, just really finding creative solutions to reach owners and to let them know what their property potential has like in the future, and just keeping in touch. Follow-up game super strong, Avi. That's what I like picked up from you and love about you. For anybody who doesn't follow you already, where can they find you?
I would love to connect with anyone that is connected with you or just watching this video for the first time. I'm Avi Becker on all channels: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. AVI is my first name, and you'll find me. And I would love to connect if you have questions individually you want answered.
Awesome. Avi, thank you so much again. See you at Tom Ferry Summit this year, right?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it, my man.
Awesome. Thanks again, Avi.